Okay, April 9th, it's 8 p.m. Central, and it's 2014, and we're seeing the HAARP Gakona transmitter still transmitting out to the west, and there's actually some herringbones that show that. The interesting thing is that this low pressure has not been targeted by HAARP, otherwise it would be starting to fall apart. So what they've been doing instead is sending HAARP right here, heating the ionosphere right here, which causes falling air, descending air, and creating a high pressure here, which is beginning to have clockwise circulation. We can also see some HAARP downburst arcs here, and since this is transmitting so close, we're also seeing the radio frequency residue right here. So let me look at it in another wavelength. One thing is, if this was to come towards the U.S., there could be potentially a major rain event, and they don't want that. They do not want any kind of rain to come into the U.S. So what they're doing instead is they put a high pressure here, and that will actually push this up into the Arctic, where it will melt the Arctic ice, which is what they do want. So let me look at another wavelength, and I predicted this yesterday, that they would HAARP this area to drive this into the Arctic, rather than certainly not let it come into the U.S., where it would water all the farmers' fields. But if it does, if they cannot manage to push it up, then as it gets about here, they will press descending air on it and absolutely destroy it. It will just become disorganized clouds. Okay, right here we can see some HAARP herringbone coming from the HAARP transmitter itself. And this is pretty much confirmation that is, you know, the HAARP signal is active and it's going this way. You can kind of see a little bit of like 4 bars of a herringbone there. And here we can see this arc created by the descending air. And what does it look like in water vapor mode? Not much detail. But again, if they are sending HAARP to this area, we will see increasing dark area as the more and more dry air is brought from aloft and pressed down to the surface. And I kind of think it's the angle of the Earth. We're almost looking at the horizon, and that's why we don't see it here. So here we can also see these 3 little herringbone things. Let me do an enhancement of color just to show it up a little better. Right here, that's herringbone. That's from HAARP. That's indicating this HAARP. Usually these wave fronts are perpendicular to the direction of the transmission, and then this here is showing where the downburst is. The HAARP downburst is right here, and being it's a downburst, it's going to begin to have clockwise rotation because the Coriolis effect, and that clockwise rotation, if they maintain the downburst, it's going to start pushing this high pressure, sorry, the low pressure, a ton of energy here. This is a fast swirling low pressure. They're going to push it up into the Arctic, crack up all that ice and melt it. Okay, and on the eastern half, you know, it was just a really quiet day for chemtrails. Very odd. Very odd. After yesterday morning, what they did in California, today they've taken it so quiet. Quiet, quiet. But you know why? It's because look at this precipitation map for the United States. Holy cow, I mean, look at this. Basically, there's no precipitation in the entire country. This is what these HAARP people want. This is just ground clutter. There is no precipitation. Okay, there's a tiny little cloud here. You know, this has been trying to build all day, but they have been hitting it with the HAARP. So you see these clouds acting like they're going to build up, and they just get squashed. See that? Squashed. And the Gakona HAARP can actually reach clear over to the middle section. So now this storm system is outside of the Gakona HAARP's range. It may actually blow up to be a big storm as it moves east. But the Gakona HAARP has managed all of this, starting in Alberta, Canada this morning. This was up in Canada this morning, and they smashed it down. They managed it all day. There's been virtually no rain in the U.S. today. No rain at all. Okay, and if we look at the water vapor, as you know, I've said, okay, here's a bunch of chemtrails down in Mexico, and it is really hot down in Mexico today. No rain and really hot. I mean, we're talking mid 90s to around 100 degrees, and again, no rain. So they've gone a couple of weeks with no rain at all in this growing area here. So it's going to be hard for most of these growers to do very well. Texas has been bone dry, real clear. Very odd for Texas to have this kind of clear weather. And that's after yesterday's incredibly vicious attack on the San Joaquin Valley. They've just kind of backed off today. Oh, one thing I did notice is that if we look down here, there is just tons of NASA photoshopping going down here. This stuff down here, I absolutely guarantee you, is photoshopped. And I'm not going to tell you why, but I know that for a fact. And actually, if we look in the rapid share satellite, say we want to look at western Baja, guess what? Here it is, late in the day, and they still haven't uploaded these images. And say we want to look at, well, anyway, anything of interest, they always put it just off the edge of 2 satellite images. So that's one way to hide it. The other way is for them to take 5, 6, 7 hours to edit these images when it says on their website that they can take up to 2.5 hours to edit the images. Now, why does a satellite image need 2.5 hours of manual editing? I think you know the reason. Okay, and that is your chemtrail summary, chemtrail and HAARP summary for April 9th, 2014. Basically, it's just about this low pressure out here. What are they going to do with it? Send it up to melt the Arctic, or if it moves east, they'll kill it. You know, and actually, this is building up to be a potential rainmaker. So they are going to actually have to HAARP this and kill it. You can actually see it's already forming into two separate lows here. That's already a sign that they've sent some descending air to kill it. Okay, that's your update. Thanks.